Welcome to the Hollywood Composer Series, brought to you by The Jeremiah Show and executive producer Carol Connors. My special guest today is composer and songwriter Randy Edelman, who is entering a new creative chapter with his latest album, Waltzing on a Highwire, and its new single, 21 Again. The album reflects a more personal side of Randy's writing, balancing the cinematic sweep he's well known for with intimate storytelling. And in the last few years, Randy has also been performing a live stage presentation, A Life in 80 Minutes, sharing music and stories from across his remarkable career to sold-out audiences in New York and London. And over the past several decades, Randy has created a mind-blowing catalog of music spanning recordings, film, television, and major global events. He began his musical career as a member of Broadway's pit orchestras and then emerged as a singer-songwriter in the 1970s. His songs were recorded by artists including Barry Manilow, Carpenters, Dionne Warwick, and Randy Edelman is a Golden Globe-nominated songwriter with multiple platinum and gold records. And you probably know a lot of this. I am just so honored to have him here. His music has gone on to become a familiar presence in film and television with more than 100 scores, including My Cousin Vinny, The Mask, Ghostbusters 2, Twins, Kindergarten Cop, and one of my favorites because of my good friend Anne Heche, 6 Days and 7 Nights, and the sweeping Civil War epic, Gettysburg. Randy Edelman's music has also reached audiences at some of the world's largest stages. He composed Summon the Heroes for the 1996 Summer Olympics, scored NASA's final shuttle launch, and created themes for major broadcasts, including ESPN Sports Century and Olympic coverage on NBC. And over the years, he has collaborated with filmmakers, including Ivan Reitman, Ron Howard, and media visionary Ted Turner, earning honors, including BMI's Richard Kirk Awards for Outstanding Career Achievement, a Golden Globe nomination for The Last of the Mohicans, and the United Nations Humanitarian Award. And through it all, Randy Edelman has remained at the top of his profession, creating music that continues to resonate with me and audiences worldwide. Welcome, Randy. I made him very uncomfortable, by the way, during that reading of his credit.
Well, you're not showing me, so it doesn't matter. You're going to say, yeah, we are. Okay. Yeah.
So, Randy, welcome. And we opened up the show right now. We're playing it, in fact, right now. Birds of Freedom from Waltzing on a Highwire. At the heart, this is such a beautiful song and reminded me of a blue jay that comes and visits me in my backyard. But at the heart of the song, what is it about?
That's a song really about just people coming together. That's what that song is about. And you mentioned my new album, but I'm working on my new album now. So that is on the last album. Waltzing on a Highwire was my last album, and that song was on that album. Anyway, yeah, that's what it's about. If you listen to it, it's kind of almost a throwback to a kind of folky peace thing, but the music is a little bit more complex than the normal kind of that kind of song. So,
So the new album you just mentioned, will we be able to talk about that, or is it?
Well, it's in the process now.
It's in the process.
That's
Okay.
One of the things I'm doing here, completely different. And that album, the one that you're talking about, which I love. You see, for 25 years I was locked in a room. I never wrote a song. Okay, I stopped writing songs completely because scoring movies is a different craft, and even if they asked me to write a song for a movie, I wouldn't. And they didn't, because that's not my gig. There are no songs anymore in movies. They're put in with montages, and they're done outside the movie, have nothing to do with the movie. It's not like years ago where somebody wrote Moon River to Breakfast at Tiffany, and that was the theme of the movie. So songs have nothing to do with the movie scoring I'm doing. And you mentioned the Golden Globe, and that was for, by the way, you didn't mention Last of the Mohicans. Hello, so that was score, not song. So there's two. The scoring is different than the songs. And so mentioning this to you because I came back recently to the songwriting thing because I'm really into it. I wouldn't do it if I wasn't into it. And so that's kind of what I'm doing now and doing these concerts like this weekend.
Which
That
brings me to this question, Randy. Uh, is this beginning a new chapter in your career, or is it returning to the beginning
oh
for you?
Well, it's no, because I did so many albums years
Yeah.
ago. I did albums before I ever did movie scores. But I was always, and I consider myself, I'm not a songwriter, composer, TV. I'm a musician, and that's all I ever wanted to be. And luckily, my background in music, and all the different areas that I have been involved in, which is unique. Normally, someone you're talking to they either are a songwriter or record producer and they do albums, or they're a film composer and or they do TV. But I've been fortunate to have been involved in all those things on a very intense level, because whenever I'm doing them, I never do anything else. I've made it a point. I learned at the beginning. So when I'm scoring films, I'm scoring films. I'm not thinking about song. If I'm doing an album, I'm thinking about the album. And so all that started years and years ago, right over there, because I'm looking out almost over the George Washington Bridge to Teaneck, New Jersey. I can't see it, but that's where it kind of started for me. And I had no idea that it was going to lead to any of this. I was basically a classical serious conservatory trained musician. And then things happened, and I got out of school and was going to be drafted. It was the end of the Vietnam War, and da 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 da. So anyway, I won't go into that because we'll be here much longer than 45 minutes.
Well, I'm going to probably get into most of that as much as I can, as
Well,
much as
okay.
I can pull from you. Basking in your storytelling. You're such a great storyteller. And someone said, I read when speaking of Waltzing on a Highwire, the album, your latest album, that the album for them evokes images of golden age cinema and lost romanticism. And I like that sentence because it made me. That's how I felt when I listened to the album. So my question, following up from that, is: does your soul, Randy's soul, live in this classic film with a big score? Is that where it resides? Or
No, no, not that album at all. Completely, no. That album is a complete different thing. You'd never know that I scored films from that album. I don't know who wrote that quote.
you don't like
I
it?
didn't. But okay, you may love it, but if you listen to the album and the songs, they're not big and cinematic, and no, they're small. Listen to Pat Wants to Know. You mentioned a bluebird comes to your house. I have a feeling you're talking about the song called House Guest, which is about a bird that comes and visits me. They're very small personal songs, or the opening jazz tune, 21 again. So I spent years and to write big scores, Gettysburg, Mohegans, Dragonheart, Anaconda, all these. But no, my songwriting is a completely different
I,
craft.
I guess
So
what I related to was that you're right. The songs are not big and cinematic, but they do have that warmth, that
oh,
that warm feeling that a good score would give you, or a cue. So I
well,
don't.
that's okay. I I'm totally in agreement with you. And most of my songs hopefully are warm because I never, because people know that, yes, I wrote Barry Manilow, Olivia Newton-John, Patti LaBelle, the Carpenters, all these people. Uh, I never wrote a song for anybody. I wrote the songs for myself for these albums, which didn't sell, except in England. And then those people somehow, because believe me, was that he heard this stuff and recorded them and made them popular. But it's not like I wrote a song for somebody. So they were all, my songs are just written, whether they're romantic or historical, they're written from some kind of personal um, uh, event in my life emotionally. And that's where the passion comes from.
When do you know it's time to try something new? How do you know it's
Uh,
time for you? What does it feel like? Like,
Never. No, I just move. I've always done that. I never think of, no, I'm fortunate. I never think about it. It's not like I said, oh, now, no, it's just the things evolve. And that's how do I know when I was going to conduct an orchestra in Las Vegas
right.
or play in the pit? Um, what it is with me is that, uh, musically, I had a sort of a musical palette with this classical background, but I was always listening to different kinds of music, the radio. I wasn't an opera buff, I wasn't a jazz buff, but I was a pop music buff and I was a musical theater buff along with my classical music. And what it is that's happened, and to answer your question, is that when I was presented with certain musical challenges, whatever it was, I was always really up for it. And many people I know, very successful, well known people, they can't do that. They run, okay? Most, 99%. If they're a songwriter, they're a songwriter. If someone asks them to score a film, when they find out what's involved, number one, they can't because they don't have the musical background. They go out and get 50 people to help them. But I'm just generalizing.
Yeah.
Other people now, that because of the technology, there are many composers, the guys doing many films who don't read or write music, and people say, "How the heck does so and so do that?" It doesn't mean they're any less brilliant than somebody with a traditional musical background. They're coming at it from a different place, and the technology has allowed them, whether they be a guitar player or a synth player, in order to use that technology and their adaptability and brilliance as players, as musicians, to adapt that to film scoring. But that couldn't be done years ago because you didn't have the technology. You needed to do a live orchestra. And unless you could orchestrate and conduct and play live, you couldn't proceed in that arena. So fortunately, I have always welcomed a challenge. And the challenge is there have been plenty of ups and downs like anybody's life, but I've always been able to like meet them with a certain passion. It didn't always mean that something was going to be successful, in the world. But as long as it was always successful for me, if I thought that I was able to adapt what I do to someone's vision, that's films. If they have a TV show about a guy who could build a bomb out of a chocolate bar, I came up with MacGyver. That was all me. I came up with that whole. They thought, what's that? That's what this guy is. And they fought and screamed and yelled. No, this is not the theme for the show. It's going to, well, 30 years later, that was just one example of something. If I was writing the NBC NFL theme, uh, there was something that I felt, and I was able to put the passion into my love of sports, and somehow, so that passion is always in there. That's completely different than my personal songs, my romantic songs for Barry Manilow or Olivia or all that stuff. So it's sort of the same passion, but musically it kind of swerves and shifts, and that has been my kind of thing. I've never said, okay, I got to do a shift down. What I'm doing now is different. And what I'm doing now, coming out of these shows, especially here in New York when I do Lincoln Center or Carnegie Hall, I'm starting to take some great old American songbook stuff. Now you can say, oh, everybody's doing that, so and so, blah, blah, blah. But me, I do it, and I do it, and I do My Funny Valentine, or Where or When, or the song from Never Neverland from the original Peter Pan score. And I do it, and I put a lot of passion into it. And somebody would say, how come you do that? It's not yours. Yeah, it is my thing. It's my thing, and I've been doing that in shows, and I'm really loving it. I can see someday getting up on stage and doing none of my music, just my arrangements of these songs. That's a bit, that it may never go to that, but that's becoming a part of my shows. So like this weekend, now I'm going up in 2 days. I'm going up to a place called the I don't know Cinema Arts Center in Huntington, which is somewhere I don't know where in Long Island. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to show my movie, The Mask, a classic film, a little film with a guy no one knew at the time because his Ace Ventura Pet Detective film hadn't come out yet. And it's a brilliant. The guy should have gotten an Oscar, Jim Carrey, for that part he did. And I did a unique score, all recorded in Ireland. Why did you do it in Ireland? Is the movie? No, that's too long story again. However, they're going to show the film because it's a bunch of like these film nerd society. Then I'm going to talk about it because the music's not, oh, The Mask, Jim Carrey's got a green face and Randy wrote funny music. No, it's very dark and odd and weird. And that adds to what that film needed. It didn't need comedy music, just like My Cousin Vinny, another little nothing picture that I did. The score I did, I decided Joe Pesci and Marissa Tomei, who only won the Oscar. Nobody wins an Oscar in a comedy for supporting actress that year. Nobody. Ever since, they were so good. I didn't have to write them being funny. You know what I wrote, Jeremiah? I wrote the scenery. What does that mean? That sounds like, nothing. No, it took place in the South, My Cousin Vinny. 2 people from Brooklyn, he and the girl, they go down there to save his little cousin who got wrongly, arrested for stealing a can of tuna fish. But unfortunately, when they were driving off, somebody killed that shopkeeper. So that everybody knows the story of My Cousin Vinny. And I decided that by writing funky music, not about them from New York City, from Brooklyn, no, about Georgia and the place that they were. And so my whole score from that is a bluesy, it's almost like an Allman Brothers. That's the score to My Cousin Vinny. So each picture gets treated, hopefully, with music that supports the drama, meaning action, comedy, whatever it is, of whatever the picture is. Ghostbusters 2, my score is just a suspense score. That's what it is. If you put the music onto these things, you would know you're listening to comedy, quote, score music because it's not funny. So obviously you see that so for years, I was committed to scoring movies and I never thought in a million years I'd ever write another song or go back to songwriting, let alone songwriting in terms of me doing my own albums. But one thing led to another, and then the pandemic happened, and I wrote this song about, when things are better, and that led me back into this songwriting thing. Something that's as crazy as that led me back into it, and then doing these concerts all over the city, which your friend Eileen, who's fantastic, really pushed me into doing. So I make fun of her and put her down for writing bad bios and stuff like that. But she's fantastic, great person.
To thank. We have Eileen to thank for your concerts and your shows.
Well, no, I'm not going to go that far. And she has me to thank.
Right.
Basically,
it's a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah.
So it's, if I'm hearing
I'll let you talk now. So ask me questions about this.
Yeah. So it sounds like it's opportunity, it's passion, and excitement, and that of a new opportunity that just that drives and
that's what's great about it. It's the new opportunity, which is scary.
Right.
And movies, every movie, it's a new movie, a new director. They're always challenging you. They don't know you, different personalities, but that's the kick of it. That's the challenge of it. Writing a new song is I mean, I'm so excited about this. I'm not going to tell you about it. Well, the next show, I can almost tell you. I can show you something of what, but I won't tell you now. And I'm so excited about
Tease.
something that I wrote because it's about a place, not like what I was talking about, that I've been going for years in London. And I've thought about writing something about it. But the idea, while I was doing all these other things, I've had this idea and a certain placement in terms of time, a musical style and a placement in time in London after World War II, and it was bombed. There's a certain thing about a certain place, and that's one of the things I'm doing now. So we'll talk later about that. But yeah, that's what's great. And like some people like, going to a job every day and knowing a blah, and they get blah, blah, blah. And that's what's been good for me. Like I said, like in anything else, there's ups and downs. But fortunately, I've had by things happening the way they did, it allowed me to get into these different areas because people couldn't pigeonhole me. And so, and right now it's kind of the fruition of all this stuff, and I'm able to get up there and talk about it. People know when you're bullshitting them or trying to be funny. I don't try to be funny or anything. I just tell the stories. They want to know about a song, and I know they want to know about certain songs. I'll tell them the stories about the songs. And fortunately, there's some pretty interesting shit, about the songs. They want to know about movies. I mean, they all want to know about Arnold Schwarzenegger, all those big movies I do with him, Twins, Kindergarten Cop, or Anaconda. That whole thing was just remade. They remade it. And I wanted to see it because it sounds like a hilarious idea about a bunch of kids that want to remake their favorite trashy movie called Anna. Well, but that score that I wrote, that makes Jaws seem like a sweet. That's how serious the music that I wrote to Anaconda, which takes place, in South America on the Amazon River. It's a dead serious thing. And that makes all the stuff that's going on against it scary and funny because John Voight in that film playing this is so great, is hysterical, but it needed that very serious music to offset it. So it's just all.
It's great. And I love how excited you are. I love you got passion.
Yeah, then I get it.
Love
And it's not you. It's I'm excited about usually something I'm doing, and for somebody else, it may not seem like, gee, why if you did this when I did the NFL stuff for NBC? Dick Ebersol was the guy's name. Like head of NBC Sports. They started using a lot of my stuff, the movie stuff, Gettysburg, Dragonheart, Last of the Mohicans. And they'd show sporting events and they'd show how they do it. They do a montage of
right.
something happening and opening the Super Bowl. And they started using all Randy Edelman music. And he said, who is this guy? He didn't know if I was dead. You know what I mean? He didn't know who I was. And so I met him and they showed me, it was here in New York years ago. They took me over and they showed me like the Breeders' Cup, some golfing thing, the Wimbledon, and they showed me all different pieces that they had used of my music, each one different. And they said, whatever you're doing, the sound of it, the triumph of it, the style of it, would you write us? That's when NBC had the NFL. They always change it. So I did that, and that was fantastic. And that was exciting. Someone say, well, that's not as exciting about as a hit song or a hit movie. No, for me it was, getting up every Saturday, turning on, I'm a big sports fan anyway.
Yeah.
We turn it on, So.
Okay, well, you mentioned the live show. And I don't know if the upcoming shows are different than what you did in New York and London, but you treated audiences to a live performance called A Life in 80 Minutes. And it gave your fans a behind the scenes view of your career and through your music and really touching funny stories. What does A Life in 80 Minutes refer to?
Oh, that's just a funny thing
fun.
I came up with in 2 minutes. 2 minutes, and it's not a life in 80 minutes. It's a life in 2 hours. 80 minutes is enough time. However, it's not meant to be me telling you stories. But what it turns out, maybe it would have been different 20 years ago. So at this point, when I get there and I'm playing, that's what it is. People say, oh, I won't go into, there was a book called The Soundtrack of My Life, done by a friend of mine, very famous executive. I won't mention his name. Okay, but my music is the soundtrack of my life. Nobody else may know this music that I know, because all the songs, I'll start playing a song that I wrote about the environment a million years ago, and everybody said it's called The Farmer. I remember doing it when I was opening for the Carpenters, my first job. Can you imagine that? At their height, 50, big sports arenas, not Carnegie Hall. I'm talking about field houses, and that's the first time I ever played in front of anybody. In front of one person or two people? No, 15,000 people. And I opened with The Farmer, which was it was an environmental song. And it took people 50 years. Now I play it and they get what I'm talking about. No one understood it.
Yeah.
But it's just, every time I play a song, one of my stories that I always talk about is, who's the biggest recording artist selling of the last, you'd say Elvis, the Beatles, but no, none of those people. And that person, who it is, the last song they ever recorded was mine. And not only was it the last song they ever recorded, but it was a song about my grandfather. And I never could figure out, if you heard the song, why this person would do this song. And unfortunately, he dropped dead on the golf course the week after he recorded the song. So, of course, I know what he saw in it, because when you hear him do it, it's the greatest, Bing Crosby. When you hear it, and I'm telling a story in the song. The song is about a kid right down where I'm looking now, right smack here in the heart of Manhattan. A young kid that goes to work as what they used to call a stenographer. What's a stenographer? Stenographer is a secretary. And that's my grandfather. And meeting my grandmother. And this song, called The Woman on Your Arm, tells their story in 3.5 or 4 minutes. And obviously Bing Crosby, because that's the weirdest thing in the world. Why would he record that song? But anyway, and it took place right here. But again, it's something, it still has meaning to it. It doesn't get old,
Mm-hmm.
And so I tell stories like that. And there are things that took place in my life, talking about a member of my family. And that's what it is. Completely different than movies or film scores or Nelly. I had a number one, the biggest hip hop record in the world a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
How did that happen? By Nelly. A rapping, obviously the huge rap guy, from hip hop guy from St. Louis. Well, it happened.
Yeah, one of my favorite albums. Do you do shows on Broadway? I know you're at different jazz clubs this weekend and next week.
What do you mean shows
I
on
don't know.
Broadway?
Have you ever thought of taking this? Like Bruce
No,
Springsteen?
no. I have. That's too long a conversation about writing Broadway shows. That's different. And with my life, I don't have the time to be
Yeah, it'd
involved in
be
that
full
stuff. I
circle.
can't.
It'd be like,
No. But you don't do that. You don't control that.
right.
What full circle? Try to get a show on. You want it to all the shows close. All of them. None of them run. And you'll say, "Oh, what about that?" Yeah, one, two. So in order to get it on, I don't have time to go. No, what I do is I write music, and whether it's for an album or a MacGyver for a TV thing or a film, that shit is coming out. It doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it's going to get a play. Whereas other things, raising money for a Broadway show, You could be in Cleveland, and if you're lucky to get it on, and you'll never get to Broadway. And if you do get to Broadway, it could be like, how about the I would say or the Queen of Versailles. Remember that show?
Mhm.
You ever hear of that? Huge, biggest show of the year last couple of months ago. And it's not here anymore. Does it mean it was no good? No, I'm sure it was good. Written by talented people, starring somebody great, but these things happen. I'm not in control of that.
What you're doing is working, so don't change a thing. Just follow your path. What you're doing is great. In the new album, the latest album, Waltzing on a Highwire, do you feel like it's nostalgic or that you revisited your past and some?
Of course, it's very nostalgic.
How important?
Listen to okay. Now the other thing about that album, see, I have to kind of, because I'm into. It's not that it's old. It's only a year ago it came out. Each song on that album, you mentioned "Birds of Freedom." That's like when I said it was a peace thing, folky, a little bit more. Then listen to the cut before that, like jazz, 21 again, total jazz. And then listen to a song called Pat Wants to Know, and listen to the style of it. It's 60s. Doo-doo.
Yeah. We're about to play Pat Wants to Know.
Huh?
We're going to play Pat Wants to Know right now.
And I love it. It's 60s. It's an old 6/8. It's rhythm and blues. I don't sound right. Okay, it's that. And then something else. Then there's a song with my grandkids. They would never be involved. I recorded them around the dining room table saying something. They killed me. They haven't even heard it, and they're speaking to me. They're speaking to me in a song, and there's all different. Anyway, and then there's the song about the bird called "House Guest,"
which we're going to play on the way back in.
Okay, well,
playing all these great songs.
So right, they're all very personal songs, and you'll listen to those, whether it's Pat Wants to Know or House Guest, and then you'll think about what you said before about this big, grand, sweeping cinema, and then you'll realize that what you said, I don't know where your head was, and you will realize what a fool you are. Now, nobody would say that on your show, Jeremiah. No, but you'll know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. So I just deal in specific.
But you know what? I'll argue that. I'll argue that point of that.
Yeah, let's go. Let's get into
listener's interpretation, whatever that may be. Right? I mean, you write for the listener. Oh, you write for you. You said you write for you, but it's how that listener interprets it. It can't be wrong.
Oh,
I can't be wrong, Randy.
No, I know. No, and there's a certain harmonic structure to use.
I guess
that I do write in that is a bit more grander in scope than many quote pop writers. Just like someone like the greatest Burt Bacharach. Listen to his writing. Nobody wrote like that. The chord changes, the rhythm, it's just unique, original. And that's different than what I do, but everybody has their own thing. So
yeah, and by the way, that quote was from a writer, not me. I just brought it made me think.
Now I know who the writer is, though.
Oh, they're in trouble.
I'll give her a call. Yeah.
I guess I feel like, when you feel the music in your chest and your soul, that the songs on this album did that for me.
That's what it's supposed to do.
Put it. No, but to me, I love cinema, so I translate that to the pictures and the feel and the power.
Right, but not the cinema. Yeah, the cinema of life, not cinema.
Bad choice of words. But what I want to know from you, the burning question before I go to break here, is what does Pat want to know?
What does she want to know? What does the song say?
Okay.
Pat wants. What is that song about? You're going to tell me you listen to that song? It's about communication.
When a relationship
between married people. Hello. It's so obvious. Pat wants to know. She's talking to this guy, and his mind is way off, and it gets worse and worse and worse. And he's still looking at the end of the song. That's what it is.
It's a great
Pat
song.
wants to know what Paul really cares about, but he's just lost in some other day. He's still lost.
Okay, let's
And
take.
listen, I wish, we're talking about it now. I get excited because the album, it's hard for these things, especially when you're not a quote hit commercial artist and people aren't going out there. So to expose this stuff, but you know what I know? And I say this, I sound very egotistical. I know what's on all my albums, those song albums that nobody really knows. Okay. You'd say, what do you mean? Barry Manilow had a hit with Weekend in New England and the blah, blah, blah. Yeah, some people know some of the stuff, but the really good songs, no one's ever heard them. And guess what? Someday they are. And you're going to put the needle down on that drop. Someone's going to use one of those. And all of a sudden, it's going to go, holy shit. And people will discover it. And as long as I know that it's down there and that I recorded it to the best of my ability and with the personality that I wanted to have, I don't give a shit, It's there. It's on the record. Next day, I may be doing something else, but it's there. And just like I'm telling you about this new song that I wrote about London, which, we'll get it to someday. It's there. It's there. I'm enthused about it. And when I get enthused about it, and it may be someone else isn't, so.
I love your enthusiasm. And here we go. We're going to listen to What Does Pat Want to Know? Let us know. Hit us up. We'll be right back.